broadcast. I'm so excited to welcome you to this week's webcast, and I want to speak on on a topic that actually is more or less like a question, and I'm asking this particular question to say, what are some of the strategies that are very key for project and procurement managers in ensuring that they achieve a good result in their particular negotiations? And I am very much excited because as a project manager or as a procurement manager or as whichever role that you hold in terms of in the negotiations, it is critical to ensure that you have the right skills, the right competencies that allow you to achieve cost saving, ensure value for money, and also you effectively manage the stakeholders that are involved in the negotiations that you are conducting. And I want to give a few strategies or a few key pointers as to what you must be able to do, or to what you must be able to employ, and be able to ensure that your negotiations are adequately prepared for, and you actually prepare for your success. So one of the things that you need to look out for as a negotiator is the issue of preparation and research. All right, and under this there's a famous the acronyms that I used where we talk about issues of partner. So you need to know your partner, and what we are talking about here is that in your preparations and in your research, you need to come up with the best alternative to your negotiation agreements as well, and you need to ensure that you have a backup plan when it comes to your negotiations, in case of the negotiations seem to be failing or to be going in a direction that you feel is not right. So you need to ensure that you prepare adequately, you research, you have a partner, or as it is called, the best alternative to negotiations and everything. So you need to ensure that you have that in place. You need to ensure that you understand your suppliers, you understand your stakeholders' interests. Okay, you cannot just jump into negotiations without knowing the strength and the weaknesses of your opponent. I'm calling them opponent, but they are not opponents because they are partners in business. So you need to ensure that you understand their interest in this particular negotiations. You look at their, so as you in understanding that, what you're trying to do is you're trying to also come up with priorities. What are their priorities? What are their financial position? And what is the industry trend in which they are operating? So that is very, very important when it comes to preparation. That is important when it comes to research. The other thing that you need to look at, and you need to look at under this particular component of preparation and research, is what I call setting clear objectives. Every time you are going into negotiations, clear objectives are very, very important. Clear objectives are your strategy on how you are going to actually approach the negotiation, how you are going to actually manage, the stakeholders to this particular, negotiation. So you are looking at acceptable terms, you are looking at your price limits, you are looking at the quality standards that you're looking for, and you're looking at issues of deadline, more especially when it comes to issues of project management, because this becomes very, very key and very important for you to be able to achieve in your negotiations. The other thing is the other second component is what I call the relationship management, the relationship building. In a relationship building, remember I said, these people that you are getting, or these stakeholders that you are getting into negotiations with, I use the term to say opponents, but I again corrected myself and I said partners. Because they are partners, you want to ensure that you build that relationship. How do you build that particular relationship with your stakeholders? You need to ensure that you employ win-to-win approach, win-win approach to these particular negotiations. You need to focus on mutual interest, mutual benefits, rather than being aggressive in terms of cost cutting and whatever. You need to look at the bigger picture. You want to ensure that at the end of the day, when your negotiations are done, you meet the mutual interest of each and every party. You need to also ensure that you build trust. Long-term supplier relationships and also stakeholder relationships is very, very, very valuable to the project success. It's very valuable to your procurement success. So you need to ensure that you build trust. So in ensuring that also relationships are built, also you need to be also aware of cultural culture, the different cultural variances. When you are doing negotiations, you can be a multilateral operated company, and you could be negotiating with maybe people from the Asian regions, and you may be negotiating with people from Africa, you may be negotiating with people from the United States of America, as it were. So you need to understand and respect differences in terms of communication. You need to understand and respect issues of decision making styles that may be affected by the culture that your stakeholders and yourself is operating in. Then the third point, which is very critical to negotiations, is active listening and communication. Active listening and communication. You will never go wrong in your negotiation to listen actively and to really, really ensure that you attain effective communication. So listen more than you speak. There are some of us, like myself, I really love to speak most of the time, and you find that sometimes we tend to take over the conversations, as it were, but understand that the other party's motivations and constraints in terms of communications are also very important. So listen more than you speak by understanding the other party's, motivation and constraints in terms of, what is surrounding the business that you're negotiating for. Then clarify expectations as well. It doesn't hurt, where you're not clear about anything. You need to ensure that you clarify. Avoid assumptions. Assumptions may actually affect your negotiations negatively, because you may not reach to a conclusive or an informative position in terms of what you want to achieve. Then confirm the terms in writing as well. So once you do, you clarify your expectations, you confirm those particular expectations in writing to avoid any contractual dispute that may be able to come as a result of misunderstandings and everything. Then also the use of persuasive language. All right, very, very important under active listening and communication. So when you are communicating as a negotiator, you need to frame your proposal in terms of benefits to the other party. What is it that, if we do this, or if you give us a quality product, this is the benefit to your organization. So you speak more of the benefits to the organization, to the other party that you are actually on the table with. By that, you actually ensuring that they feel part and parcel of this particular negotiation, and it's very easy for them to buy into whatever you want to achieve. So that is very, very important. Now, the fourth component, very important to negotiations, which I actually like very much, is what I call cost versus value consideration. Cost versus value consideration. Most of the negotiations have failed. Why? Because people want to just concentrate on the cost in the shortest period of time, or the cost in the medium term. But what we are saying is that you need to ensure that in your negotiations you encompass the total cost of ownership, okay, the TCO, as it were. So look beyond just the purchase price. Okay, look beyond just the factors that you look for issues like maintenance, quality, life cycle costs of this particular product or service that you're procuring. Avoid lowest price traps as well. In most cases, and in my experience as a procurement person, as a project implementer, most of the times we get attracted to what is called the lowest price, and I call it the lowest price trap must be avoided. A lowest price may mean compromised quality or service level, or sometimes they may just reduce the prices for them to ensure that they get the contract, and once you award that particular contract, tomorrow you begin to do order variation, you begin to do variations in terms of your project scopes and everything, and it becomes costly overall at the end of the project. So you need to ensure that you avoid the lowest price trap, as it were. Then the other thing is also leveraging on volume discounts. Many stakeholders actually have very, very, very very high opportunities. When you're buying things in bulk, you'll find that negotiating bulk pricing and long-term contracts and everything gives you better rates as well. So you need to ensure that you consider options, you consider all avenues that are able to ensure that you leverage on volume discounts as well. So that is very, very important to ensuring that your negotiations are very successful and they're able to give you value for money. The fifth point, and very, very important also, is strategic consensus. So you must be able to ensure that you prioritize must-haves versus nice to have. So what are the must-haves that you want to, things that you cannot do with, or what are, not just things that are appealing to your eyes, or things that are just appealing, to your taste and everything. So you need to know what you can and what you cannot compromise on. All right, prioritize your must-haves and versus nice to have. So you must be able to ensure that you actually understand what you can compromise on and what you cannot compromise on. And then the other issue is, under strategic concession, is what we call the give and take. So under the give and take, you're actually saying, okay, fine, I'm offering something in return for key concessions, okay, or for key compromises to the other party. You look at maybe faster payment terms for for a better pricing and all those issues. So okay, fine, if you are saying your price is $2,000 and the payment terms are 30 days, okay, why can't you reduce on your prices, and then we'll also reduce on our payment terms? And like that, you are actually giving and take. So it's an issue of opportunity cost and everything. Then also time pressure advantage. If the other party has deadlines, use it to your advantage. If the other party has got deadline, use it to your advantage. So time pressure advantage is also very, very important. This is why you see that a lot of people that actually are under pressure, they sell things at a very cheaper or lower cost, as it were, and it's very, very important. So for you as a negotiator, you need to be able to know the markets, and you need to be able to actually negotiate within the confines of what is happening in the markets in that particular manner. Number 6 is very, very important also, is what I call conflicts and deadlocks. When you have a conflict, handling conflicts and deadlocks. When you have a conflict in a negotiation, or when you reach a deadlock, a dead end as it were, what are some of the things that you need to look out for? What are some of the things that you need to do as a professional? Under this, you need to ensure that you stay professional. Despite the conflict, despite the deadlock, keep your emotions in check. Focus on the facts. Be professional and remain professional. Then refrain from the discussion. If for some time, of course, you may shift focus from the position. You need to actually be able to take a break or something like that, or to look at issues. If you were asking for a discount, and then at a higher rate, and your other party is not willing, sometimes you look at it, you can actually refrain from that. You can take a little bit a leeway back, to ensure that you can actually be able to now inform them on how you can be able to reduce costs together as a team, as a unit, and that is very, very important. So also, the other thing is breaking negotiations in two phases. So you need to ensure that, probably if you find yourself under a conflict, or maybe deadlock and everything, and it could be maybe something that could affect the whole entire negotiation, so you can actually divide these particular negotiations in phases. Resolve easy issues first, just like that, to say, okay, fine, we're going to resolve these particular areas of issues or conflicts, and then we'll go with the other ones, then tackle the tougher ones later, and things like that. It is very, very, very important. Lastly but not the least, I want to speak on what I call the legal framework and compliance awareness under your negotiations. Different countries, different professionals, different contracts come with different legal frameworks and compliance awareness, which is very, very important. So as you are approaching your negotiations, as you are going to the negotiation table, as you are preparing for that particular negotiation, you need to understand the contract terms that are actually being put on the table. Ensure that you have the legal protection. This is very important. Whatever you do in your negotiation, ensure that you have the legal protection. You do not land the company that you are actually negotiating for into commitments that may bring about risks to the organization. avoid issues of penalties, and ensure that dispute resolution mechanisms are very, very clear. In case you have a dispute along the way as you are implementing that particular contract, how are you going to resolve them? You need to ensure that all those things are made very clear at the time when you're doing your negotiations. Then the issue of regulatory compliance, of course, it is compliance to the laws of the land, compliance to the internal policies of the organizations that are actually negotiating, the parties that are actually negotiating, align the negotiations with the industry regulations and the laws of the land. It could be procurement laws, it could be any other laws that are in place that are governing this particular negotiation that you're going into. So therefore, these are the 7 key things that I thought I should be able to share with you, and ensure that as we prepare for our negotiations, as we prepare for a punch of a win or the negotiations, we are actually aware of what is required of us. Thank you so much, and this was your host Richard Mumbi, and I'm looking forward to host you in the next broadcast of Business Insights webcast every week as it comes to your screen. I am so grateful. Please do not forget to click on that particular like button on so that you can be able to ensure that you follow our events. Subscribe to the channel as well, so that you can always be updated of what is happening and what is coming to your screens. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.